Hello, everyone! Blue Star Saber here once again to discuss Naruto. And someone who's joining us is someone that has not been on my channel for a while, but let's see. I'll let the guy introduce himself.
Yeah, a while would be accurate. Hello, everyone. This is LKNMJH, also known as Steve.
Yeah. I think the last time you were on here was when we were discussing a My Hero Academia chapter with, Lucky Chi and Manga Reader. And before that, I think there was like the 1000th chapter of One Piece that I've had to privatize that video due to the fact that there's some sensitive information about accidentally sharing the wrong page that I need to edit and sort out before re-uploading it again. But we're not here to discuss that. We're here to discuss Naruto.
Mm-hmm.
Or more specifically, the Edo Tensei jutsu. Arguably, the jutsu that was used to bring back the majority, quite a lot of dead characters from Naruto, both from the series that died before or died in the backstories. Hello, Space. He's a user from one of the Discords I'm part of that usually joins the stream. That usually comments on some of my streams.
Uh-huh.
Saying hello, but yeah. But Edo Tensei, pretty much the jutsu that was used to revive a large chunk of the characters to be used as the final opponents for the Fourth Great Ninja War. Let's see. In many ways, it was kind of like which was not used since the beginning of Part 1, which was, of course, first used by Orochimaru to battle the third Hokage. And during which, hold on, I'm just going to try and share screen. Let me just see where I can find it. No. Here we go. Let's see in which, hold on, let me see if I can find the image. Spoilers for a lot of things I want to show with this, but fortunately my image set. Let's see it. Nearly there. Here we are. In which Orochimaru resurrected the first two Hokages, the first and second. In many ways, this jutsu allowed us to see arguably two historical figures who were already dead, pretty much, that we were very much unlikely to see in the beginning of very much see at all in the story, except for maybe like flashbacks and maybe some lore stuff. So he used them pretty much to battle the third Hokage. Though granted, at the time, he was also seemingly trying to unlock also summon the fourth Hokage, but the third kind of stopped that from happening. Though granted, this later ended up becoming a sort of a retcon later when Kabuto, would later use the Edo Tensei jutsu, but Orochimaru pretty much got his hands sealed, and as a result, couldn't use jutsu again. And even when he got the soul, took over someone else's body, he was unable to use this jutsu. So for a long time, we did not see this Edo Tensei jutsu, even though he did say that if he like revived his arms, he would bring back her dead lover and younger brother back from the dead, more as a bargaining chip from the next arc. But after that, Edo Tensei was not really seen until Kabuto came back during the confining the Island Turtle arc, bringing back the members of the Akatsuki and using Deidara here to pretty much try and kidnap Naruto and B before the war, though ended up capturing Yamato instead. So that was pretty much what Edo Tensei was used. And Edo Tensei was kind of like Kabuto's bargaining chip, using a sort of secret casket to get Toby to convince him to join the war, in which he also showed like the members of the hold on, let me just see if I can find them. Nope. See, the members of the Akatsuki as like a hint of who he brought back. Now, I gotta ask Steve, what When this jutsu first showed up, let's see again with Kabuto, were you surprised by its return?
Um, a mild surprise, to be sure, from what I can recall. I knew, well, I knew that bringing back dead people, you don't just introduce that in the middle of the Chunin exams and then have it not be a thing later on, because then that is the definition of Chekhov's gun, because it's a tool that could be useful but ultimately isn't used. But
Yeah,
thankfully, though, Kishimoto, I'm not going to say he didn't forget. He just found a place to bring it back in.
yeah, I'd probably have to agree with you. To be honest, let's see, for myself, I always knew that this jutsu was going to come back in some form. And the best example, I think the reason why I thought that is Kishimoto would probably use this jutsu to show the Jinchuriki that were captured and extracted from the Akatsuki, because to be honest, we only really saw amongst these Jinchuriki here prior to the Fourth Great Ninja War. The only ones we saw were the Two Tails Jinchuriki, the Four Tails Jinchuriki, and the Three Tails Jinchuriki. Now, granted, we only really saw the Three Tails Jinchuriki, the Misuka Etsi with Yagura, I believe, due to the fact that we had a few flashbacks of him, but it revealed to be like the fourth Misukage and the ninja responsible for the mist's reputation for the Blood Mist Village, though also being one of the Jinchuriki apparently had perfect control over the tailed beasts, even though he also ended up being manipulated by Toby. So there's a little bit of inconsistencies with some of the established rules of Jinchuriki there. And also Rin also being a Three Tails Jinchuriki, but yeah. But basically, you kind of had that. So we only really saw glimpses of the three of the Jinchuriki here with the, let's see, Six Tails, Five Tails, and Seventh Tails Jinchuriki. Let's see. Oh, yes. I was just about to point. Thank you, Space, for pointing. There's also the Six Tails, thanks to the filler. Yeah, the filler also showed us the Six Tails to a bit. So, for the most part, with the exception of the Six Tails filler, we didn't really get a chance to see the Jinchuriki, only brief glimpses. So I figured, okay, if Kishimoto wants to bring in the tailed beasts for the Fourth Great Ninja War, there's also a need to bring out the Jinchuriki for the tailed beasts, really. So it's in a sense, it was kind of like killing two birds with one stone. It allowed Kishimoto to bring back characters he's teased and hyped with, and also perhaps bring back some other characters that may need for one advantage for the story. Let's see, one last use for the story before I guess doing the final battles and pretty much. And among all the characters that Kabuto resurrected, besides the Jinchuriki and the former members of Katsuki, among them were a bunch of Gekkei Genkai ninjas that were used, that were based off of let's see, the character designs from the third Naruto Shippuden movie, The Wheel of Fire. Though granted that Gekkei Genkais were very much different, but you also had classic characters like Zabuza and Haku, the Gold and Silver Brothers, the previous Kages, particularly the fourth Kazekage, third Wakage, second Tsuchikage, the second Mizukage, Leaf Ninjas, Asuma, Saratobi, Dan, Neji's father. Let's see, as we can see the Edo Tenseis from here. Another image of Pakura, Sai's brother. Let's see, the other members of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist. Let's see, nope, that image not here. Nope, there's the second Mizukage there. Let's see, Torin to use as a demonstration on how the Edo Tensei was used. Yeah, Sabsa and Haku there. these images are out of order. I tried my best, but I couldn't sort them out. Hanzo, Chiyo, and Kimimaru, as well as this guy called Chikuku, who was part of Deda and Sasori's attack platoon for the war. There's an image of Kakukatsu, then later became part of Hanzo's team. Oops, not going to use that. Let's see, that's with the Jinjuriki later. There's some cloud ninja called Turin. There's the 4 Kages that are resurrected there again. Let's see. Oops, and let's see. And of course, the surprise ninja, Madara Uchiha. And during the course of the war, we'd end up seeing them, fight various ninjas from the Allied shinobi forces. In many ways, let's see some comments from space here. Also, Obito controlling the Free Tails isn't a mistake, but that's besides the point. And the anime filler adds so much Edo to Kabuto's army. Yes, there's a plenty of Edo Tenseis added to the anime. Some original filler characters and some characters like before, like the Sound 4 and Hayate Ghetto, that was also brought into like 2 separate arcs. That power filler arc, which I think was supposed to be a movie, both times or by Sakura, though. Frankly, I've always been a bit mixed on that because, on one hand, you had the power arc having Sakura beat Hayate Ghetto, but in the war, you didn't have her get beaten by Hayate Ghetto, just so his lover Yuga, I think, could end up beating him. But yeah. Well, granted, I think Sakura is much stronger than the character Hayate Gecko. Let's see. But anyway, but yeah, so with all those characters resurrected, and also the fact that the Edo Tensei is like a jutsu that makes people immortal and that cannot be killed, arguably, it seems like the perfect jutsu to sort of like hype up of like all these historical figures, hype up from the past of being probably arguably stronger than they were alive against now the new generation, sort of maybe adding to the theme of the new generation surpassing the old if they fight them. But when the Edo Tensei battles against the Allied shinobi forces actually took part, I think the reception was rather mixed, perhaps even some negative. If you recall that yourself, Steve.
Trying to gather my thoughts here. I guess well, God, you've really stumped me with this one.
that's a rare thing for me to do.
Well,
let's see.
Jeez.
See, Space saying also having the Edo Tensei be weaker than their live version, which makes us wonder how strong they were in their prime.
Yeah, that's so. On the one hand, you need to have something to balance out that jutsu, but at the same time, it makes sense because because the way this jutsu works, for those who don't know, the resurrected have to incorporate a living person into them, if that makes any sense. I mean, what else do you call what else do you call how else do you say it when they turn to ash and all of a sudden there's a another person buried underneath the ash of the resurrected person.
Yeah, you pretty much got to live with sacrifice.
Right. But yeah, so having them, so I'll say that having them weaker like that is it's it's a negative, but only in the sense that we're not like none of these characters in the manga are given like flashbacks to showcase how strong they truly are. We're only we're only told about them. Uh and that's in storytelling it's what you would call too much telling, not enough showing. You can explain stuff all you want, but without the visuals to back it up, it's just meaningless fluff, if that makes any sense.
Arguably, yes, because it's like you got certain characters that were kind of hyped up. Let's see, when the introduction, especially ones that were introduced in this war, for example, like let's see, let me just find which one. Let me just find an image of them. Nope, 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 nope. Ah, here we are. The Gold and Silver Brothers. These are apparently the characters that, well, pretty much killed the second Hokage. So arguably, you think they're quite hype, but just see, one of them gets sort of easily sealed, and the opponent they end up fighting is Dari from the Cloud, and arguably the only reason they were even resurrected in the first place was so Kishimoto could add this plot. Let's see, idea of there's some plot idea. Hold on, I'm trying to find the image. Oh, it's pretty okay. Where is it? I know I saw it a while back. Let me just well, there we are. Sorry.
Professionals at work here,
Yeah,
folks.
sorry. Well, amateur professionals, but yeah, pretty much so that they could introduce, let's see, them being Kinkaku and Kyuku being pseudo Nine-Tails Jinchurikis, just so that Kishimoto could find a way of resurrecting the Ten-Tails without actually having Naruto lose his tailed beast and extract it yet. So arguably that was what that plot point with the Kinkaku and Ginkaku ended up being. And despite these two ninjas being hyped of killing one of the pretty second Hokage, they ended up being defeated rather quickly by Dari and later Team 10. So it's
Yep.
like they didn't really live up to the hype, not to mention characters that we've seen previously be strong before got beaten off screen, like Kakazu, who was the only real fight scene we saw was against these two Chunin that he easily dispatched earlier. Let's see, Hanzo, this legendary ninja, let's see, who hyped up of being able to defeat the Three Sannin. Granted, let's see, the explanation was that he was not in his prime and has long lost his skill, was defeated by Mifune the Samurai, who no one really knew previous about, but it was arguably the most fillerish battle throughout the entire Naruto series. And not to mention, at the very beginning of the arc, hold on, that's Sai's brother. Just not, let's see, that image is important. That's not the one I want to show. Let's see, you pretty much had Sasori and Dedro, this attack plume division, end up being quickly defeated by Sai of all people, which now for the Ritzy record, let's see, I actually like Sai, and I'm actually glad he got a moment in this walk and actually got a fight, but it's like, this is like a character, let's see, there's going to be a character, like this is a character, like those are two characters that shown to beat like Gara and Konkoro a bit earlier. Now it's like they're being defeated quite easily themselves, but I think that's because they were a quick fight. And the comment from Space here is, where you're going to try and argue that Kon and Kizume should be Edo Tensei, because I don't believe they should be Edo, because their deaths are too close to the war. I will get to that comment in a bit, but that's going to be something that's going to be discussed later. But basically, you had characters that were hyped up. Also, I suppose you could also say the 7 swordsmen of the mist. Let me just the 7 swordsmen of the mist, who are also, let's see, all the members were finally shown, also hyped up, and was a group with Sabazar, only to be defeated off screen. So it's like you had all these characters either being defeated easily or being like beaten off screen or not beaten at all. So it's like they didn't really serve much as they didn't really look impressive or serve much as a threat. Not to mention, they kind of like the more each time they lost, I guess you could say the threat level of the Edo Tensei sort of dwindled with not having any victories. If you agree with that statement, Steve, or
Yeah, pretty much. Like this, this is just one problem of many that the war arc has. But in terms of trying to make things interesting, this is just one case of many that you've pointed out where there's a potential, to have an interesting fight, and the potential is there, but because the manga is called Naruto, we need to cut back to how he's doing, and then when we cut back to the fight that's interesting, it's pretty much over.
yeah, but speaking of the fights, I think that was also another aspect for the Edo Tensei that was criticized, in which some of the matchups we had. Let's see. Now, let's see. The first ones to happen were, of course, the battle with the 7 swordsmen of the mist, where actually the first Edo Tensei matchups were pretty much, as a result, were the first volume pretty much focused on the battle against Sasori and Dedera and Zabuza and Haku. Arguably the first antagonists for both part 1 and part 2 were done with the first volumes. Ironically enough, where they would end up fighting members of Team 7. Let's see, Sai fighting Dedera and Sasori, along with Kankuro and Omi, and some other random ninjas from all the 5 nations, while Zabuza and Haku were with the 7 swordsmen of the mist, battling the 3rd division with let's see, Sai and Omi, and let's see, including them you had Guy and Lee. I guess you could argue Sakura, though arguably she didn't actually fight them and just ended up healing the wounded ninja. But yeah, now arguably, let's see, with Dedera and Sasori, arguably their matchup against Kankuro and Sai kind of makes sense because Sasori and Dedera have a history of fighting each other, and this is Kankuro's chance to sort of redeem his last defeat against Sasori. While Sai was the new member that replaced Sasuke from the Team 7, but granted, Dedera made quite a comment about that, mocking it, but arguably Dedera never really encountered Sai, and instead, I think that's why arguably you had Sai's brother, let's see, brought into like hold on. Let me just get to the image. It's nearby. Sai's brother here. I'm just taking out my mouse. It's being a bit shaky, but Sai's brother brought in with like Dedera and Sasori, just because, well, due to the fact that Sai never really encountered Dedera and Sasori, there needed to be some sort of emotional attachment to get Sai in there. So that ended up happening. Now, granted, while this matchup, I can see happening, but I do think it ended up being rather done quickly, especially given the fact that Sasori and Dedera were rather 2 opponents that were rather difficult to beat, took in at least a volume's worth of chapters each, though granted, I can probably see why Kishimoto would not want to have that kind of length again with these 2 characters, but at the same time, they did get taken out rather quickly. And let's see, with Sabuzar and Haku. Let me just find an image I'm satisfied with. Let's see, you ended up having them pretty much fight against Kakashi again, which for many people was a repeat, but I can see why adding the seven ninja swordsmen from the mist, let's see, added some more of the danger and tension there, because you finally got all 7 members together and also all of their swords. Granted, I think there was a little retcon of having Sugetsu's brother be a member of the swordsmen and wielding all the swords at the time, even though I think it was established before he was training to become a member, but nevertheless, it was a way to get all swords there. So, arguably, it was to build the suspension of the battle of an opponent that Kakashi already defeated, but you only really saw Kakashi defeat Sabuzar and Haku again. Just more of mirroring what happened last time, the only difference being that this time, Sabuzar has become an emotionless tool due to the fact that the Edo Tensei erased their personalities for this one.
Yep.
So, arguably adding a sense of tragedy there, but once that they're taken out, the fight is just pretty much cut off, and you don't actually get to see them fighting. So it's like just when Kakashi's about to hype himself up as being the Kakashi's just about to retail himself to be like the ninja of 1,000 jutsu, or the copy ninja, pretty much. It's cut off screen, and you don't get to see the likes of Guy, Lee, Sakura actually defeat the swordsman. The only one you actually do end up being seen defeated is, let's see, during the next day, I believe it is, let me just find the image. Spoilers for something I was going to discuss later, but it's fine. Oh, here we go. The only one we actually see defeated later is Kisame's predecessor, where we see Sai's sealing jutsu. The rest were kind of kicked off screen. Now, granted, the anime did end up showing how they got defeated during like the second day of the war, if you will. Both like some filler battles and Storm 3 actually showed their own versions. Out of the 2 versions, I prefer the Storm 3 version, just because you actually get to see Sakura take on a member of the 7 Swordsmen of the Mist if you choose the hero, let's see, difficulty level. But yeah. But basically, let's see, these characters were cut off screen. I'm just going to cut to the comments a bit. Let's see. Let's see, Space saying, the Edo Tensei are double-edged swords for the war arc. They need to be powerful ninjas, but they can't win any big fights besides Madara. Let's see, also going, besides Madara himself, the past Kages were the ones that showcased the most of their skills and how powerful they are. Yeah, I would probably agree with that and get to a bit, but before that, we'll cut to like some of the characters we saw beforehand. Also, we had a lot of these Gekkei Genkai ninjas showing up, killing a few people, but not really worth much in the end. So it's like, let's see, that was done with. But you did have teasers of like these 4 Kages coming up, and that was building up hype, but they weren't shown until like the second day. Torin was never really shown after like being used as a demonstration, though he got used in a filler to fight Shino for a bit, showing a bit of a backstory with him. But basically, the second day, you pretty much had let's see, this after the Team 7's battle against their respective Edo Ninja, you pretty much had Hanzo versus Mufei the Samurai, and like I said a bit earlier during the stream, this is the most fillerish battle that you could have gotten in the entire series. It's like, for many people, it's like, what was the point of this fight? The only reason why I think Kishimoto wanted to do this is because Hanzo was actually the name of a famous samurai and wanted to do an old guy versus an old guy, technically. But yeah, he was pretty much taken out quite quickly, and I don't know who people were expecting to fight Hanzo during the 4th Great Ninja War before he fought Mifune, but he ended up maybe some thought he would fight Naruto just to show how Naruto surpassed Jiraiya, maybe Tsunade, though granted Dan was resurrected. But either way, he was taken out rather quickly. Now, granted, it's because like I said earlier, it's because apparently his skills waned, but it feels like you kind of just broke the hype for a character that people might have been interested to see duke it out. The Gold and Silver brothers we kind of mentioned a little bit earlier with like the whole Dari situation. They were more of the main focus. And then the other major fight that ended up happening during like the second volume was pretty much Team 10 versus, let's see, their former sensei Asuma, where arguably, I think both you and I know the moment Asuma was the moment Asuma the moment Asuma was shown to be among the dead, you know he was going to fight Shikamaru and the rest of Team 10. Because there's no way Kishimoto's not going to have Shikamaru get a spotlight if that's going to be the case. Comment from Space saying, at least with Hanzo, we are shown a flashback of Pain killing Hanzo. Arguably, yeah, though granted, I'd say that was we learned that was Hanzo defeat at his weakest, so arguably, let's see, more of emphasizing his former state of glory, but yeah, I suppose you're right, but we've got someone called Monty X saying, what's this about? Well, I'm joined with my friend here, Steve, discussing the Naruto Edo Tensei jutsu, the jutsu that was used to brought back, a lot of characters for the Fourth Great Ninja War. And arguably, we're talking about some of the things that went wrong when people were hyping up for this jutsu to be used, and what happened with some of the characters that were used in this jutsu. So, yeah. We also, during this time when Asuma was fighting, we also saw Dan fighting, I believe, Choji's father, which this is mostly off-screen, but apparently the two had a history. I'm not sure what, though if I had to guess, it might be implying that Dan was perhaps Choji's father's sensei. At least I think that was the implication. Though he was ended up being sealed in the same force sort of barrier that stopped the Armbo ninjas from helping the third Hokage out during the invasion of Kahona. Apparently he had a ghost jutsu, but this jutsu was more just to be used to save Tsunade later, just so they could have a chat rather than actually fight it out. And you had Neji's father fight his brother for a bit, talking more about the whole Hyuga clan destiny a bit, but him telling his brother that both his son and his daughter are fighting together in this war, sort of saying, building the bridges as building the bridges between the Hyuga clan. But yeah. We've got some comments here saying this is a stream talk about the wasted potential of Edo Tensei. And Monty X saying they both fought in the Second Ninja War. Was that their relation? AFIK. Was Choji's dad in the Second Great Ninja War?
As far as I know, yes.
Oh, okay. I knew he was the very least was in. Sorry, go on.
It was either the second or the third.
I think he was at the very least in the Third Great Ninja War because he's supposed to technically be the same age as Minato, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So but yeah, I don't know if the Genin were but yeah. But as far as I was aware of, Dan was killed during the Second Great Ninja War. So unless Chozo was, I think it was it's Chozo was in as a Genin in the Second Great Ninja War. I don't know much about it, but yeah, I think that's the history. But yeah, but basically, it's pretty much another off-screen battle, and then Kakazu, like I said, was defeated. Let's see. Okay, saying, honestly, I don't mind Kishimoto not having characters like Jiraiya, Kakashi's dad, Kisame, and Kona be Edo. You must be referring to some of the images. Like I said, we'll get to that a bit later. But basically, once all these characters were defeated, you pretty much had the Toby arriving with the Gedo statue, pretty much retrieving Kinkaku and Ginkaku in like the sealed jars, just so he could use their Nine Tails powers, while having the statue just cause a bit of an witty rampage and keeping the Allied Shinobi forces occupied. Arguably being the, besides Kabuto capturing Anko, being the only actual victory the Akatsuki had that day because, well, all the other Tenseis were defeated. And then during that night time, all the other Tenseis were not really used, though you did have Itachi and Nagato chat for a bit about what, Toby was planning, which with the white Zetsus. And other than that, you had Toby then acquire the 6 Jinchuriki resurrected by Kabuto, making them his new 6 paths of pain, giving them each an eye from the Rinnegan and the Sharingan to be the new 6 paths of pain as he marches for the second day of the war, saying how he's going to end it all and with all that hype. So you had pretty much that. But before they ended up being fighting, you had Naruto pretty much take out this Tori ninja, this cloud ninja with a Man Nick style Gekka Genkai quite easily, just to show Naruto what the Edo Tensei jutsu was like. Who was ironically with, I think, Zabuza's group, but then suddenly changed different locations. He seemed to just separate from that group for some reason. Arguably, the son Naruto could do this. Then pretty much you had a battle against the 4 Kage and Naruto and Killer Bee versus Nagato and Itachi, which arguably makes sense because Naruto has a history with both Nagato and Itachi, and arguably Killer Bee and Naruto are the only 2 ninjas, arguably from the Allied Shinobi forces, that could actually take these two, due to the fact that Naruto beated Nagato / Pain before, and Killer Bee is like the only ninja in the Allied Shinobi forces that would be immune to Itachi's Genjutsu, due to his partnership with the Eight Tails. Now, instead, due to the fact that series I was implanted in Naruto, Itachi broke free, and the 3 of them worked together to defeat a fully powered Nagato. So then you just like sort of cut to like pretty much the battle against the let's see. Oh, I've got some more comments there saying from Monty X, the main issue with the Edos was mainly the people who got revived weren't interesting. And Space saying, yeah, and that's mainly because it was a show how strong past ninjas were and more ninja history. With Monty X saying Nagato and Itachi are both individually stronger than both Bee and Naruto combined for you. I don't know. I think that's a little debatable. I mean, I think pretty much Naruto. I think at the very end, Naruto is definitely stronger than both of them. I definitely think that he could probably win the fight if it's endgame. As of beforehand, if he could defeat them by himself during that fight, I'm not entirely sure. Arguably, I suppose Nagato was technically the second strongest Edo Tensei. So, and it did take all 3 of them to take him down, but who knows? Now, with Itachi, Kishimoto has a habit of making him rather invincible. I don't know, what do you think of that? Ritzy comment, Steve?
Again, this is the problem we have with Edo Tensei making them inherently weaker. So, if they were alive, and if Nagato didn't look like a skeleton, I would argue that yes, even Naruto in his current state at the beginning of the 4th Great Ninja War, I would argue that Itachi would still be able to kick his ass. And Nagato, I mean, all his power is tied up in the Rinnegan. So again, he would probably be able to kick Naruto's ass.
Fair enough.
But otherwise, you know, because they're weakened and because Kishimoto needs to prop Naruto and Killer Bee up, it make it barely crosses the threshold into the unbelievable territory.
Fair enough. Space says here he believes that full-powered KMC 1 Naruto is stronger than Edo Itachi, but not Edo Nagato.
That's
Possibly.
fair.
Let's see. At the very least, I think Edo Tensei, KMC 2 Naruto is definitely stronger than both Edo Itachi and possibly Edo Nagato. But yeah, no, granted, I think with Edo KMC 2 Naruto with Sage Mode, yeah, definitely, I'd say. Let's see. Space says Edo Tensei was physically weaker, but the loss of his sickness made that up. Arguably, yes. It sort of gave Itachi sort of an advantage in that regards. But yeah, but basically, you pretty much let's see for the Monty X saying Itachi in this fight was casually conveying and warning both Naruto and B while fighting them evenly while only having the free Tomei Sharingan. Itachi with Mangekyou Sharingan is 100% stronger than KCO1 Naruto. I think we just started a little debate in the side chat, Steve.
Well, again, this is a problem with so I would argue yes, that is a fair statement to make, because when the Amaterasu is set upon you, you are going to burn until you are nothing. Now,
okay.
Could Naruto fight it off with QB Mode 1? Possibly. Nine-tailed Fox is an infinitely greater amount of chakra than Itachi ever could. But I'd still argue that yes, Itachi with his Mangekyou Sharingan, if he wasn't dead, could kick Naruto's ass.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Well, Space says, well, I need to leave for now. See you guys later. Thank you, Space. And if you're able to come back later, let's see, we'll be glad to have you. If not, see you later. Monty X says, nah, it's my fault. I just love power scaling Naruto. Fair enough. Well, speaking of power scaling, we can now go to like Naruto's battles with the 5 Kages, and well, the previous Kages, in which the first one you had was pretty much Gaara versus his father, and then the Tichukage versus his mentor, the second Tichukage. Let's see. Now, granted, the main focus was on like Gaara's father, the Kazekage. And this fight, while you pretty much had them evenly matched, with Gaara gaining the advantage, it was more of just a sort of backstory and retcon to reveal that actually Gaara's mother did love him. But it's just that due to the 4th Misukage manipulating things to try and test Gaara, it ended up, as a result, resulting in him failing that test and becoming like the character he was at the beginning of the Chunin exams. Frankly, for me, I have a bit of a mixed feelings on this changed backstory for Gaara. I'm not sure about you.
I mean, at this point in the manga, retcons are nothing new, but at the same time, yeah, it's a little iffy.
On one hand, I think it might have been a bit stronger just to have the original backstory and just have Gaara show just how wrong his father was in that regards, and even maybe have Tamari, who was also there, call him out for like how terrible of a father he was to what he did to Gaara. but also got their mother killed, if you will. I don't know. Something like that. I think that could have been a very powerful brother-sister moment with Gaara and Tamari, if that was done as it was. But I suppose that leads to also sort of another problem with the Edo Tensei, is that many of the ninja that were resurrected aren't necessarily evil. I mean, and in fact, many of them end up trying to be very helpful, like the second Mizukage here, and trying to defeat them. The only ones that were like kind of bad were like Deidara, Kakuzu, the Gold and Silver brothers, and I guess Madara. Again, with like either some of the ones that could have been bad, like Sasori, Hanzo, and the fourth Kazekage, sort of got reformed or redeemed, if you will, due to some interactions. But basically, the second Tsuchikage was, for the most part, fight off screen with like the city third Tsuchikage, Onoki, and then Gaara, and finished off when Naruto joined to help them out, which then led to more of individual fights against the third Hokage, who was being occupied by fighting Tamari for a bit, and the second Mizukage, who was defeating a bunch of random mooks, if you will, and doing it pretty easily. But basically, Naruto ended up fighting the third Hokage. Arguably, I'd say of all of Naruto's fights, this was the most fillerish and one you could probably kicked out. We've got a comment here by Monty X saying, I don't think it was changed. Gaara's mother loving him was always a thing. Actually, Monty X, I'm just going to have to disagree with you there, because, let's see, when we got the backstory of Gaara first, Gaara, was told by his uncle that his mother never loved him, and that he was born from her grudge against the village for sacrificing her to create a weapon that was Gaara. So that was pretty much what we were told about Gaara's mother, was that she never loved him. But it's now learning this backstory retcon saying, oh, turns out she did. And instead of the power of Shikaku protecting him with the sand, it's actually Gaara's mother's love. Which arguably touching, I don't know, it might sound a little corny, but yeah. But anyway, I had the third Hokage. This fight was pretty much Naruto's most fillerish. I mean, he got some team up with you pretty much had him teamed up with like a elderly cloud ninja and a few of the allied shinobi forces there. Granted, Temari didn't actually get to do much after Naruto arrived. And this is pretty much where it's a good fight. I think it's a bit shaded by the fact that it seemed Kishimoto went back and forth on whether or not the actual Naruto was fighting him, just arguably to try and maybe build some suspense. But I do like how this fight was taken out. It was the one with Naruto using Sage Mode and figuring out that the Hokage's own spear was stronger than his shield, pretty much, and that's how he defeated him. So there was a clever fight there. And then, of course, the next fight after that was Gaara and Onoki versus the second Mizukage, who shown to be quite the skilled ninja. And with the result of Gaara having gained gold sand to defeat him. So, arguably, I think a decent display of his powers. And, arguably the Kages were done very well with their display of power. But and then after that, you pretty much had Naruto arriving, assisting various groups of allied shinobi forces, either against the White Setsu or remaining Edo Tensei, particularly backing up the samurai against Kimimaro and Chiyo. But this was taken off screen. This was done mostly off screen, and they weren't defeated in the end. Instead, they were just released when the jutsu was released by Kabuto. But Mu was sort of separated, and as he was able to split himself and resurrected Madara, and finally we actually had a ninja that kind of lived up to the hype of Edo Tensei. And then pretty much decimating the Allied shinobi forces and eventually defeating the 5 Kages. But at the same time, the last Edo Tensei sort of battle was against Toby and his new 6 paths with the Jinchuriki, beating Naruto and B at first, even turning into some tailed beasts. Then you had Kakashi and Guy show up randomly, arguably because Kishimoto needed them for the next part of the story with the stuff with Obito. And then, while that was taken care of, you had Itachi encounter Sasuke to fight Kabuto here. So it's like these two teaming up to defeat Kabuto, which you had Itachi bringing up another one of the Uchiha's hacks powers to take him out for a very specific moment to undo the Edo Tensei, minus all of them with the exception of Madara Uchiha, who teamed up with Toby to fight the rest of the war with the Ten Tails, and then Orochimaru coming back to bring forth the 4 previous Kage who more have assisted in the 4th Great Ninja War against Naruto, but with Naruto and the Allied forces, though not before Hashirama gave the flashback, and during which, during the 4th Great Ninja War, you had Minato also revealed to have the 9 Tails power, which sort of hyped him up before some got sort of disappointed. And that was arguably what happened with the remainder of like the Edo Tenseis until like they were permanently dispersed when the Sage's 6 Paths released the shield. But yeah, so I think we pretty much we got a bit of a more comment from Monty X saying, who was told to say that by his father? No, but the uncle lied either way. Gaara's mother was killed due to the fact that Chiyo sealed the one tails inside of Gaara while it was still his mother. Arguably, yes, but like I said, it was more of a. It could be argued more of a retcon later, as this is more information that we learned down the line of the story, not really right now. But yeah. So that was arguably the sort of problems with the retcon. But yeah, but yeah. But anyway, I've been going on a bit, Steve, talking about these fights. Were any of these fights you agreed with, or do you think all these later half fights were fine with like what they used the Edo Tensei for?
It's a mixed bag.
Fair enough. Would you like to start on the ones you like?
Zabuza.
Okay, come on.
Some of the more thematic fights, like Kakashi versus Zabuza, or Sai versus his brother, well, quote unquote brother, are interesting concepts. And I said this before. But because the manga is called Naruto, we have to focus our attention on him and Killer Bee against Itachi and Nagato. So that when we cut back to the other fights, they're either practically done or almost practically done. And the only other fight of significance would be Gaara against his father. But even then, I forget how many chapters that took, but I want to say it at least took 3.
I think it took at least 2 chapters.
Short either way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say that all of these fights were just wasted potential. And really, this is just one of the many problems the war arc has. But it seems like all these fights Kishimoto put in because either he thought the anime might expand upon them, or he was told that the anime might expand upon them.
Oh yeah.
And to be fair, the anime did expand on some of these fights. But then they made some other bizarre decisions, like this is kind of off topic here, but if you remember Sakura receiving that love letter from some random background ninja, I recall that was supposed to be expanded upon in the anime, but they never did. So
Yeah, they just pretty much adapted it, all that stuff, and frankly, I don't think it helped the shipping thing when it implied that, oh, she had still had feelings for Sasuke, even though I would argue there could be a case for it being a bit vague if whether or
right.
not she actually liked those feelings. But knowing the
But yeah,
Naruto fandom, but yeah,
all the fights. Really, Edo Tensei as a whole in this arc was just wasted potential.
but yeah, but there was definitely but there was definitely particularly Edo Tenseis that never actually got to show a fight. And since you mentioned, let's see, Sakura, hold on, let me just get the image to a bit. One particularly thing that was wasted in terms of, whoops, wrong one, share screen, is the fact that Kishimoto ended up brought back Chiyo and Kimimaro, and with Chiyo at the very least, you'd think, you'd see, given the fact that the biggest relationship she had when she was alive was with Sakura when they teamed up against Sasori, you'd think they might have had an encounter with them. You think these two would like encounter each other and have a fight.
Right.
Heck, I think people figured with Kimimaru, let's see, this was a chance for Lee to have a fight and this rematch against the opponent that he lost to, and this time win and sort of do like that sort of bloodline versus hard with natural talent versus the hard worker theme, if you will. But of course, that never happened. At least I think most people expected Lee to fight Kimimaru again this time, without his like illness and him with like one of like either the 6th or 8th gate.
Right.
I think there was one fight that people expected to happen. Another, I think, that people were kind of hoping that would happen would be hold on. Let's see. Oops. Just do a little bit. Let's see. Back. Oh yeah, Neji. You'd think people thought that perhaps Neji would fight his father just to show him how much of a person he's become. I think that was another one that people were expecting. Maybe Neji and Hinata teaming up together against his father, not instead of father against father off screen, if you will. It's just like all that led to was just like one little talk between the two brothers talking about how they teamed up together. And let's see. Monty X saying the natural talent versus dedication thing happened with Lee versus Haku a little bit. Yeah, arguably you had him fighting Haku a little bit, but it wasn't really much.
Keyword a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah. So it's like and also if it's like, okay, if you're gonna Kishimoto, if you're planning to kill Neji off, though, which I think we both know that wasn't really the case, as I think he only did that so he could get Naruto and Hinata closer together, because let's see, at the later stage, they decide to have Hina become the canon couple because they had that last movie and they wanted to do spin-off with Boruto. But it's like if you had Neji maybe fight someone, giving a bit more relevance to like the current states, you might have had his death having at least more impact and meaning when he does actually die. Now, granted, I wouldn't really kill him at all. Instead of just had Neji's uncle sacrifice himself to save his like nephew, sort of Bitsy closing the gap on that sort of like Hyuga conflict. But that's just me. But yes. But speaking of Haku, one thing I thought was a bit of a missed opportunity is when this is also with Sakura again, where I figured at the very least. Sakura being a part of the Fourth Great Ninja War, you could have easily, let's see, had. Hold on. Nope, I can't find. Nope, I'll just use this image. You could have had like maybe Sakura assisting in the fight with Zabuza and Haku at the very least, just to kind of show how far she's grown from like being the one member of Team 7 that couldn't really fight these two to now being able to fight them. I mean, arguably that would imply that Sakura gets at least a few multiple fights, but heck, she's one of the main characters. I expect multiple fights from the main characters. But yeah, those are basically some of like the missed opportunities with the Edo Tensei. Now, granted, there's also, I guess you could say, Kakuzu that was also, I guess you could also argue Torin being resurrected, I guess. You could have maybe had a fight with Shino with that, but he was just used for a demonstration. Though the anime did do a filler of that, though, granted. I wouldn't say it was a very good one, but yeah. But yeah, maybe Sakura fighting one of these two at least, even if just briefly. And then, of course, you also had Kakuzu defeated off screen. It's like the only point you had of this character was a brief reunion with Team 10 and pointing out, oh, your master's alive. Granted, apparently one of his masks did get destroyed by 1010 with that elemental fan. Now, I'm not really sure who you could have had Kakuzu fight, but at the very least, I guess you could show maybe Team 10, Dari 10, let's see, Dari 10, Team 10, Dari 1010, and a few others. Maybe you're fighting this guy together just to sort of hype him up, maybe. Oh, Monty X saying the side branch purpose is to protect the main family, which is him living up to his true purpose. Yeah, but I think that was always like a bit of a problem with the Hyuga clan, and I think if you had like let's see Hashi restoring the bridges between the two clans by sacrificing himself for a lesser one, that might have like fully mend the sort of bridges built, I guess, and start a new age for the Hyugas. That's just what I was just saying on that. But yeah, I don't know. Who'd you have had fight Kakuzu, Steve?
I mean, Shikamaru. There's like there's only a handful of people that could thematically work, because otherwise I could just as easily say random ninja number 55 and it wouldn't make a lick of difference.
Yeah. In some ways, I suppose that could get into the next topic. If Shunadi's ninja actually being resurrected, Kakuzu doesn't really seem like the case to be so. But yeah, I don't know. Do you think you think any of the ninja that was resurrected should not have been resurrected?
Plenty.
Fair enough.
But again, this is one of many problems that the war arc has.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
I, off the top of my head, did we really need the 7 ninja swordsmen? Did we really need all the previous Kazekages or all the previous Mizukages? Did we really need to bring back the previous Jinchuriki? Did we really need to bring back all of the previous Akatsuki? But again, this war arc shouldn't have even been a war arc. Should have, but whatever. What's done is done.
Fair enough. Let's see. Arguably, the two characters people were glad were not resurrected in this war arc was Shusui Uchiha, because it's then more Uchiha powers and all that stuff, and also Jiraiya. Now, granted, it was early on explained that they couldn't due to the fact that Kabuto couldn't find Jiraiya's body, and Shisui's body was disappeared without a trace, with only Danzo having Shisui's eye. So as a result, and the reason why this ended up happening is I think Kishimoto with Jiraiya felt like he thought his death was very finale and like didn't want to ruin it by bringing him back. So a lot of people were grateful for that reasoning, though. Let's see. Granted, this kind of got squandered a bit when Boruto created a clone of Jiraiya. Well, granted, it's an entirely new character, if you will, but still. But it's like you're still technically having someone cloned from Jiraiya. But yeah. But I suppose that leads to the next pretty topic of debate. There's at least a few certain characters that I figured could have been, possibly maybe should have been resurrected instead during the Fourth Great Ninja War. And we're going to talk about some of them. The first one I thought is maybe certain characters that could have been resurrected would be the third Kazekage, Hidan, Conan, Kizume, Kakashi's father, the members of the 12 Ninja Guardians, and also, let me just get to them. For some reason, this is the Sound 4. Arguably characters that arguably potentially strong enough to Edo Tensei Resurrection, but didn't. I don't know. What do you make of some of these ideas?
I mean, people complained about Zabuza and Haku coming back. So, on the one hand, wasted potential again. But on the other hand, at least there wasn't at least there wasn't more complaints made that were just rehashing old stuff.
Let's see. Oh, and this is a few comments I'm going to address. To be honest, I think it's the other way around. People were sad that Jiraiya and Susu wasn't revived. I remember that being a big thing back when Naruto ended. Okay, so I guess you've some people that did want them revived, but I'll be honest, I've seen quite a fair share of videos and discussions of people that saying, you know what, I'm glad Jiraiya wasn't brought back. I mean, there could have been the case for maybe bringing back Shisui, but I think most people were like, nah, Jiraiya's the one character that should have stayed dead. Now, arguably, you could say this is more people that were more negative towards Naruto at the end, but I think most people did not want Jiraiya coming back from the dead because his death was arguably regarded as the best in the series, only really being topped by Minato and Kushina's Ritzy in terms of sadness, but that's pretty much a debate for. But that's just pretty much one debate people had for that. Anyway, to get to the bit on the Sound 4 comment, yes, arguably they were revived with C4 like a few fillerish episodes so the anime wouldn't catch up at the time, which did kind of annoyed. Though granted, those fillers did annoy some people by the fact that it delayed Madara's return for a bit. But the Sound 4 weren't really revived, but they were used in the they were used against but they were used for Kabuto to power himself up a bit. So but yeah. Now arguably they were resurrected, but just mostly have a rematch against the people that already they fought against and wanted revenge against. Though granted, it was like the members of the Sasuke Retrieval Squad, but surprisingly not like the Sand siblings for Taya and Sokon and Ukon, I think, who probably would have more of a grudge against Kankuro for Tamari for killing them. But yeah. Now, arguably, these ones, out of all the Edo Tenseis, possible Edo Tenseis I could suggest, they were probably the weakest. But I could have seen them potentially being resurrected to be used as fighters for I guess the second division to fight, because that pretty much had Team 8 and Neji there. You could have had maybe these lot arrive to be the Edo Tenseis for that battle at the very least. So there's at least some possible threatening opponents there, though granted they couldn't be done. Now, but that wasn't done. Instead, they did that sort of filler one-ish. So arguably, that filler might have been the case of why the Sound 4 were not brought back from the dead. Oops, wrong tab. Let's see. Anyway, now to like the ones I really want to talk about. Let's see. Hidan. Now, granted, Hidan was revealed to still be a rotting corpse at the time. Though, granted, Kabuto used this other resurrection technique to bring Hidan back for the Chikara or Power arc, if you will. That was supposed to be a movie, but eventually, that resurrection ended up deteriorating because it was like only some sort of like temporary Edo Tensei jutsu. Now, arguably, I suppose, let's see, having Hidan brought back would have brought back the sort of the duo of Hidan and Kakazu. That would make them more of a near the invincible threat. But I can probably see why Kishimoto wasn't Ritzy didn't bring him back like I think Space was glad was not the case. So yeah. Now granted, the next two are pretty much Conan and Kizame. The reason why I'd say maybe if you were to bring Conan back from the Edo Tensei is perhaps you could have had Kabuto, Toby have used her corpse brought to Kabuto and used that as a demonstration for the Edo Tensei, and then later use on. Arguably, one argument I would say to bring back Kon for the Edo Tensei is just so that she gets a bit more screen time and actually fights someone other than Toby. Maybe possibly have that Sakura versus Conan match everyone wanted to see but never actually happened. But yeah. Now, arguably, and with Kizame, you could have easily have had him as the Seventh Ninja Swordsman of the Mist member instead of his predecessor, who's apparently that group was supposed to be the strongest generation of the Mist. Though, granted, from what all the flashbacks imply, these members were like all those members from like various points in the Seven Swordsman's Mist history. So arguably that was more like the strongest wielders, you could argue. But arguably you could have had Kisame there just to be as like the more recognized member of the group. But I think the reason, like the main reason I think like Space said earlier that these two weren't brought back is because they died in the previous arc before. So it's like, okay, that's a bit too soon of bringing them back. Though I think apparently Kishimoto gave another reason for Ko not being brought back is because during her fight against Obito, let's see, she ended up destroying his mask, therefore she was exposed to his identity. So it's like having the one character that knows his identity remain dead means that it won't be spoiled early. Let's see, now, the third Kazekage, I would argue, to maybe bringing him back is perhaps maybe actually have maybe Sakura fight the real deal. It's like you fought the puppet, now you fight the real deal, which you could argue which would be much more stronger than the puppet version Sasori had. So it's like Sakura fighting the strongest Kazekage or something. Granted, to do this one, I would probably have Sakura have the Byakugo seal released much earlier. Otherwise, I don't really see her standing a chance. And the last one I would probably say is perhaps Kakashi's father. Mostly just to see just to see the strength of the White Fang, the ninja that was apparently stronger than the Sannin. And also maybe have some emotional moments with Kakashi and his father. But I think due to the fact that due to that afterlife talk that Kakashi had with his dad in the Pain arc, I think perhaps Kishimoto thought there's no point in bringing back this guy. I don't know. Would you agree with these assessments, or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Oh, anyway, we've got a few more. Let's see, characters. Okay. Let's see, from Monty X saying, I think one of the main issues of having a lot of Edos actually be strong, and which is why certain characters didn't get revived at the time of the war arc, the power creep was just too much for a few characters. All but Kizame's predecessors were killed by Might Dai, Guy's father. They were all seven ninja swordsmen of the mist. Yeah, I think they might have all possibly. Let's see. Well, I think the anime implied that all except Kizume's predecessor, Sabazar's predecessor, though granted he was mostly, I think, only kept alive to be used for that Itachi filler, to be Itachi's previous partner, because I think Kizume's voice actor died at that point. Though granted, I'm not sure how that works in the timeline. And then, of course, you've got like Ryugu, I think, who died in the filler. And it was originally a filler character made canon due to that flashback. I'll be back in a sec. Oh, yeah. But yeah, once Kabuto was pretty much destroyed, let's see, the Kabuto was defeated and the Jutsu unsealed, you only really had Madara and the 4 Kages brought back, in which you did have an interesting conversation. And we learned that the second Hokage is a bit more of a shady character by the fact that he created the Edo Tensei jutsu, which I think even Orochimaru points out, this is probably a jutsu you should not have created. But yeah. But at that, once like let's see, once it's just them, it's just like instead of having enemies for Edo Tensei, you had them as allies. But basically the only villains left were pretty much Madara and Obito. And to some extent, I guess you could say Spiral Zetsu, Black Zetsu, and other remaining white Zetsus, and then later Kaguya. But yeah, that to me is leave the question, Steve. Do you think Edo Tensei was taking out too soon?
If you're well, see, this is the thing. It probably wasn't like Edo Tensei. It's again. I refer to it as a Chekhov's gun, meaning you have to introduce it somehow in order for it to be relevant to the story, because otherwise, if you introduce it at the end, it's just going to be an ass pull. Because if you can bring back the dead in some way, shape, or form, why couldn't you do that before? It's a tool. You need to use tools. If you don't use tools, then why bother?
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. I just think if I had arguably said, I think the biggest problem is, well, it did introduce all these characters. Once it was gone, there was no one left to fight except for the big bads. But the only ones that are going to actually fight the big bads would be the main characters, particularly Naruto and Sasuke. With the others being lucky to get a moment to actually take a shot at it. So it's like, yeah. Because once they were gone, you didn't really have anyone to replace them, with the only exception being maybe Spiral Zetsu. But that was mostly done off screen. And frankly, the super powerful Zetsus was sort of more of a last minute thing. But yeah. And also the only thing left for the Allied Shinobi forces to also fight was when the Ten Tails revived. He made mini clones of himself, and that was the only time he could show off moves of characters that probably should have been able to show off their skills much, much earlier. But that was just basically it. Let's see, hold on. Let me just take a look at the Skype thing. I think there's just a few other things. Just let me list down the topic I wanted to say else. Yeah, hold on. Oops, there we go. Okay.
Professionals at work here, people.
Sorry. I'd say, but anyway. So we pretty much said that the jutsu should arguably needed to be used, but let's see, maybe not as a large scale as it was. But also, I think the last thing to ask is, what other alternatives we could have had instead of Edo Tensei to be used in the Fourth Great Ninja War? What do you think could have been done, or do you think this was the only jutsu that could have been used with the way the Fourth Great Ninja War was set up?
I think there shouldn't have been a fourth Great Ninja War, first and foremost.
Ooh, that's a
This
very
should have
strong.
just this should have just been uh another mission. Maybe expand the roster by like 15 people. Uh then so Sasuke Retrieval had 5 people. Let's see. Shikamaru, Naruto, Choji, Kiba, Neji. Choji, Neji. So yeah, so expand that roster by 10. Or hell, just have the rookie 9 plus team guy, and just have it a mission focus on them trying to take down uh arguably an ex-Leaf ninja, Obito.
Mhm.
Um, and just have him, like, he has the powers of White Zetsu at his disposal, and not to mention another, just White Zetsu and Black Zetsu there by his side. So potentially create some sort of jutsu that mimics the strength of the people you want to bring back to life without any of the personality. All the skills, all the strength, none of the personality. Don't have them talk. Just have them be straight up lookalikes.
So arguably you could add the white sets using white sets' power to copy ninjas and all their abilities. You could have had them possibly copy the members of the Akatsuki and the Jinju if they
Right.
were captured at the
Y-
very least. And
Yeah.
fight
Because
sorry, go on.
at this point we didn't know the capabilities of White Zetsu or even Black Zetsu for that matter. You could literally have you could literally say that he could do those things and people would accept it. They
Mhm.
may call bullshit, but they'd accept it.
So basically, sort of like a big sort of battle with like the remaining members of the Akatsuki, possibly using the power of the White Zetsus to create replicas against arguably Naruto and his friends, maybe also allies from maybe some allies from like at the very least like the Sand siblings, maybe
Mm-hmm.
Conan and let's see, maybe members of Taka, maybe at the very least, then some the other ninja, some the main ninjas from like the other 5 minute villages, and maybe a few backgrounds do like a sort of big mission operation thing to attack the Akatsuki base and try and defeat the remaining Akatsuki's instead of having an all-out war. You think that should have been the way it was done?
Pretty much. Like, the entire reason why we even had a war was because all of the Biju, aside from Naruto and B, were at Obito's disposal.
Okay.
And the Leaf and all the other villages felt that this warranted uniting their strength
Oh, yeah.
and forming the alliance.
Oh yeah, let's see. You got Monty X here saying like the main issue was with the ninja license was not made in reaction to the Edo Tensei army. They were made in response to the six Biju. Well, technically
Well, see,
seven
there you
Biju.
go. Well,
Sorry,
see,
what?
there you go.
Yeah, arguably that was the problem. I mean, granted, one way this could have been addressed if perhaps maybe Kabuto had made the alliance before Toby declared war, and then with that, let's see, with the resurrected ninja and like the proof of Madara, he had no choice but to declare the war the way he did. But that's the way it has. But yeah, arguably, it's very possible that if Kishimoto instead of did like a big scale war, he might have instead just do like a standard final battle thing. It could have perhaps worked in his favor, though. Whether or not that means that you would have heard stuff like this 10 tails and all that stuff be around, who knows? It might have also changed the plans a bit there. But there's arguably, let's see, arguably your method seems to be a much more smaller scale battle, but perhaps a more tighter use of characters. Let's see. The one tails was never factor, as I recall. Arguably, yes, the one tails was never directly used as by Toby during the Fourth Great Ninja War because, well, he used the Tail of Beast 2 to 6 as the 6 pass and their Jinchuriki. But he did threaten to use the power of Shikaku as well. It's like, I have the power of the 7 Biju. It's just that he didn't. It's just that no Jinchuriki of the One Tails was resurrected to be used with the One Tails. But I don't know. So it could have been arguably the 7-tailed beast could have been used one way or another. In that sort of like battle if he could have. Yeah. The only other thing I'd probably say of speaking of tailed beast, one thing I think you could have made the Edo Tensei threatening again is like you had all those like little battles at the end of day one, maybe have all those victories, but then suddenly in each of the battlefields, at least one or two of the tailed beast Jinchurikis come in and they devastate the battlefields, transforming into their Biju, causing mass destruction, and this puts pressure on the Allied forces to like bring out their own Jinchuriki in order to combat them. That's the only thing I could have think that you could have at least kept the credibility of like the threat of the Edo Tensei prior to Madara, and also hyping up when they eventually clash with Naruto. But other than that, I do think your idea of a joint mission of like certain characters, mainly the main ones from the Kahona, and maybe like with the allies from the other nations, teaming up to take down Toby and the remaining Katsuki members using white Zetsus. That might have been a more tighter and better story than the problems that the Fourth Great Ninja War had, and with like the Edo Tensei itself, though. Let's see. At the very least, but yeah. Is there anything else that you want to say more of, Steve, or have you pretty much said everything you wanted to say about Edo Tensei?
Nah, I pretty much said everything.
Fair enough. I think that means that we can now finally wrap up this stream. Thank you, Steve, for joining me. It's good to have you on my channel after a very long time.
It's good to be here.
And I would like to thank Monty X and Space for the comments they had, which helped contribute to like this discussion. And I hope that anyone else that listens or watches this stream discussion enjoyed what we had to say about what went wrong with the Edo Tensei and things that could have been done to make it better. But anyway, let's see. But for now, I'm Blue Star Saber.
I'm LKNMJH, also known as Steve.
And we will chat next time when we have, let's see, possibly discussing Naruto, My Hero, maybe movie, maybe something that's not manga and anime, but whatever the case, let's see, we will return for another discussion. But for now, goodbye, everyone.
See ya.